Unknown submarine contact in the vital area. Away the Nixie team away. Away the Nixie team away. Set general quarters. Set general quarters. General quarters, all hands, main battle station. General quarters, all hands, main battle station.
Tonight, Clinton BZ are going to tear through the gristle of today's screaming headlines and rip out the sinewy tendons of truth ensconced within, all from the hoary streets of Sacramento, Fornicalia, where we're exposing the trembling toadies, the sniveling jackanapes, and the fripperous popdoodles infesting altogether too much of this great nation of ours. Please feel free to partake of our chat room at shrmedia.com. Featuring the effervescent contrarian sackheads Clint, right over there, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of the Zepmeister, doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts. Some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included. Terracross dotted line, Hecho in Mexico, patent pending, warranty void in Montenegro. By the way, tonight, Clint and BZ will talk about a veritable gaggle, a shrewdness, a murmuration, an obstinacy, a war and a pandemonium, a gaggle, a muster, a covey, an unkindness, a maelstrom, a knot, a shiver, a murder, an intrusion, a smack, a hive, a prickle, yea, a veritable cauldron of topics. Yonder across from me sits Sackheads Clint. And I'll be your server and obese, somnambulistic reprobate for tonight. Sorry, as per normal, we do not take American Express or personal checks. Remember, folks.
Cash only.
This is an exhibition, not a competition, so please, no wagering. Welcome, Sackheads Clint and Sackheads BZ. Wait, I'm Sackheads BZ. Welcome, BZ. Hi, how you doing? Great.
What's that symbol on your hat?
That says G. And what do you? Well, I'll ask you. What do you think it says? People won't be able to see it because it's black on black.
I think it says God.
It does.
It either says God or dog, because you either start in the middle with the D.
That's right.
And then OG, or you start with the G on the outside.
On the outside, and
right.
then work your way in.
And then you work your way in. Right. Yeah. And I didn't know how to read it.
I know. I agree.
So it's God, not dog.
It is.
Where'd you get it?
Ordered it over the internet.
The interwebs.
The interwebs. That's what I did. I saw it on a place, and I said, I need to get me one, because I'm one of them damn people that believes in God and guns.
In that order.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of guns.
Are we going to rub it in?
Are we going to rub what in?
You know, what we were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Who's in chat? Who's in chat before we do this? It's Mike?
Mike's in chat.
Hi, Mike. Is Mike the only one in chat?
He's the only one in chat right now.
We may need to wait until somebody else is in chat also to rub it in.
Okay, all right, we'll wait.
No, yeah, we can single Mike out. It was a freaking hell of a show last week.
Here's the weird thing. Okay, we lost listeners last week.
We did,
because I played a comedy skit, and it was from Key and Peele, and Key and Peele are a comedy duo.
They're hilarious.
I can't remember these guys' names. One of these guys is a director now that's come out with a whole bunch of films. And I can't remember whether it's Key or Peele. It's the shorter of the two guys. Anyway, they're a comedy duo. They were from, what, the Comedy Channel? Something like that?
Comedy Central.
Comedy Central. And we played this introduction. And I guess if you weren't listening closely, people thought that we were going to talk about football. Sports for the show. And then some folks kind of exited stage right because that's not why people come here to listen to sports. You can listen to sports all day long on all these various channels that you've got. But that was all that was, folks, is just sort of an introduction because it was funny. And I hadn't heard it in quite some time, so I played it. I thought it was funny, and then immediately, unfortunately, some folks thought we were going to do sports for the rest of the show. And then we went on to do what?
A terror.
Oh,
we went on we literally, I think we got to one topic and we talked for the entire show on one topic.
We agreed at the conclusion of the show that we thought that was one of the best chat shows that we'd done.
Yeah, I think so. Just because the topic was so interesting, and
it went so many different places. Who did we? I've
gotten so much feedback from that show. Also,
we talked about. What did we talk? We talked about something first, kind of in passing.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes, And
then once we hit after the first break,
literally
we were off and running
for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I can tell you this.
We took that thing and we ran with it.
I have not received greater feedback from any other show that has been done than from the show we did last week, and even hey Kaiser, even sparking the discussion. You're
By
welcome.
the way, thank you.
My
for
pleasure.
This. I always have to thank you when you do this.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
He knows my poison, so thanks to Sackheads Clint for the Diet Pecky.
My pleasure. People that have listened to the show, segments of it or whatever, man, I've ended up. I can't tell you. I think in the last week I've ended in no fewer than, and this is face to face. This isn't emails or people calling. I ended up with no fewer than 8 or 9 lengthy discussions.
Really?
Yes, continuing on with what we've talked about.
No one engaged me on that. Because I'm an iconoclast anyway.
Did they listen?
Well, it depends on the people listen to the show. I try to get my wife to listen. She would listen occasionally. Yeah. Mostly, she comes home, she goes to bed.
Yeah, Boxwine only listens for the first part because she thinks it's funny.
In case there are any Clint stories, right?
In case there's any Clint stories,
That's
and then I get, why didn't you tell me about that? And I'm like,
because I just thought of it then.
I did. Here's a juice box full of wine, and then she is happy again.
Well, for those who missed, we got. We did.
Hey, Andy.
We did have Mike. We lost Mike.
Yeah.
We have Andy. We have Kaiser.
We have BZ.
We have Clint. So maybe you can kind of go over what it is that we talked about last week.
Did anybody in the chat room? Did you guys all listen? If you bagged out, did you listen to the replay? Or did you just say like "fuck us"? Is that kind of how that went? Anybody want to like reply in the chat room on that? Don't want to admit to it? Yeah, I wouldn't either.
No, yeah.
So
exactly.
But
it was a unique take.
I thought you guys were talking about. Yeah, hey, no worries, Kaiser. Yeah, we
that's
missed
what
you.
it was. That's what it was. March Madness. They thought we were going to be talking about March Madness.
Yeah. Hey, way to stick through us, right? Good times, bad times. I thought we had it's like a marriage, right? Like we work it out, we stick together. Hit us up in the chat room. Loyalty.
Yeah. And then fickle-ishness.
But basically, the premise of and we will literally get into another 2-hour chat on this, and
listen,
I want to avoid that
again. What did we at the conclusion of the show last week? You and I both said, we walked out to the street and to get in our cars, we both said, that was probably one of the best shows we've done.
And it was fun.
And it was just
the conversation. It was very, it was just an interesting.
And you said another thing, you had another observation or a point while we were out there is, this is stream of consciousness, like freestyle radio.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've got all these tabs lined up of stories we could do and talk about. But the deal is...
But half the time we don't get to any of that, and we talk about something else.
I know, but it's there if we want it. But if you want to continue talking about what we discussed last week, well, first...
Yes, Kaiser, you're honest. And that's why we love you. And that's why we kind of stay together.
That's true.
Forgiveness is important. And that, you know what? But that's one thing about our listeners is that as good conservatives, you're honest.
Listen. That's what I said for years about John McCain. For God's sakes, mister, if you just changed your R to a D and been honest, you wouldn't have received a fraction of the crap that you received. Which, because you didn't, you were due all of that.
But he colluded with the Democrats.
It's just, well, he also back in 2009 or 2010.
Kaiser will call in.
He threatened to go
to the Dems.
He threatened to cross the aisle, and I said,
do we have a phone number for Kaiser? Kaiser wants to call in. Call in, Kaiser.
You know what? We'll see if this works. Hang on, let me look over here.
976 Biggins.
No, you know what?
That's not the number anymore?
We'll do this. I'll try this. Okay, Kaiser. This is a one-time night number.
Ooh.
And we have a phone system here that I have not tried yet.
Let's try it now.
And
Let's
I'm
test
not
it.
sure that I'm particularly facile on it, but I'm going to try it.
Hey, don't sell yourself short. You're facile.
So-
You're the most facilist I've ever run across.
Is really facile. So, for one night only, here's the number. 209-284-3210. One more time. 209-284-3210.
Why are you giving people Sean's mom's number?
Okay, now, if he calls and when he calls, I should be able to see, and you should be able to see.
Okay.
This is the box right here, the screen.
Okay.
And then
Is this a touch screen?
I should be able to.
That's not a touch screen.
This.
Hang on. That's not a touch screen.
No, not a touch screen.
I tried. So if you missed the show last week, here's what we postulated, and literally you're going to think, wow, you guys talked for an hour and a half
now
on
watch.
that.
See, there we go.
What?
There
What?
it is.
Oh.
Now I'll answer the call, and we'll see. Kaiser, are you there?
Oh, yes. How's it going, brother?
How's it going, Kaiser?
Hey, can you hear us?
Outstanding. Oh, yeah, I hear both of you. How's Clinton BZ show doing tonight? I really apologize. I thought this was all day I'd been getting hit with basketball Americans and daggone March Madness, and I'm like, oh, my God. And I thought, that's the only reason I tuned out was because I'd been getting hit with it.
Oh man,
day.
I get it, but man, what little faith you had in us.
It was
Like
sad.
that was hurtful.
It was sad.
On
Well,
on
No.
a deep level.
The way you guys started it out, I didn't know it was about Key and Peele. I guess I missed that portion of it.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of funny looking back on it because I'm like, you guys acted and pretty much verbalized like you're set in for basketball talk, and there was excitement about it, and some people are excited by that. And I thought, well, if that's the case, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But
But that's not me.
I've just been inundated with it the whole day. You have no idea. It was like a culmination. And that was the only reason, and I had to put my jar of filthy olives up.
Oh, hey, no worries. Did you listen to the replay, or are you going to break my heart twice
No,
in
I
a row?
have not yet.
Oh my
I have
gosh,
not yet.
Your heart is
I-
broken twice.
yeah, my heart's
I
broken twice.
honestly thought you
Broken
guys
twice,
were
it
just
really
talking
is.
about the Final Four, March Madness.
I don't even know what that is.
Here's what I did, though, Kaiser. If you remember, I did try to see if I could lure Sackheads Clint into it by the setup, and I tried to set it up like we had a football game, it had just started, and I wanted to go to it so that we could monitor it, and then I played the Key and Peele thing.
Right.
So that's
Yeah,
what
but
happened. So I tried to sucker Clint into it a little bit, and ended up.
But I recognized it right away too. And so maybe we owe you, the listeners, an apology.
You know, that could be true.
No, not at all.
I-
I'm the one who owes you guys an apology because, like you said, I broke the face.
Yeah, there's really no getting around that.
No, there really
yeah,
isn't.
not at all.
Yeah, I took my jar of filthy olives, resealed it, put it back in the fridge.
All right. So your penance is
Three Hail Marys or four Hail
no,
Marys?
I'm not gonna. A bourbon of your choice times 3, neat.
Or
Oh, wow.
or this could be interesting too.
Yeah.
One bourbon, one scotch,
And one beer.
And one beer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
choice. Okay, your choice.
That's right. So
Yeah, either one, but 3 drinks. I think that's a 3-drink penance.
this
I'm hitting the beer right now.
Okay.
Get out the bourbon.
All right.
It'll be Old Smoky Moonshine.
Okay.
And
I can't.
then my scotch will be some Dewar's.
All right.
How's that sound?
That sounds good. That sounds good. And then we're good. We're good.
I can't believe.
Maybe I can make an Irish car bomb with the bourbon and the beer and combine it into one. No, you said it has to be neat. Never mind.
Nope, it's got to be
Can't do
neat.
that.
Boy,
It's got to
if,
be
if-
neat.
If you're going to throw a car bomb, you're going to have to throw some kerosene or some JP4 in there somewhere.
Ooh.
Nice. That's
That-
well played.
I know. Thank you very
But
much.
you know
I'll,
your
I'll
sponsor.
be here all night.
Your sponsor is if it's not Boeing, it's not going.
Yeah, poor Boeing. Poor Boeing.
yeah.
Hey, I got to tell you this, though. I am surprised at the clarity of this phone call. I started doing
This
the
is
show
good stuff.
with Skype, and Skype tanked.
Sucks.
I could not. I could not rely on the clarity of Skype, and now we've got this new phone system with a new number that I can change. And so this is the number for tonight. I may have another one tomorrow night if I have some people call in. But we may do this in the future because now I found out via Kaiser that the phone system over here actually works.
Is Boeing stock down right now?
It went down about a week ago, and it went up today because Boeing announced that they have a software patch for it. The other thing that occurred today, or yesterday, it may have been yesterday, is that in order to try to fly some of the 737 Dash 8s and Dash 9s back for the software fix,
they need to put the wings back on.
One of the pilots, and it was
they don't need the wings.
Oh no,
I didn't know that.
A formality, just a formality. But it was not a passenger laden plane, but a couple of pilots, because the 737s are only a two-seater, no passengers, did the exact same thing. Took off, installed or went to the autopilot, and that's the whole problem. That's the crux of the biscuit right there. And the plane began to nose and went down. And they were able to pull it up and take care of it. But basically what that said is, absent the software fix, this crap is still happening.
Oh, I think it was Alex Jones. Believe this or not, there is sometimes news that breaks on that show. And, by the way, earlier today, Alan was on, and your show, you and Clint, was also a talk on that show because everybody in the chat, there's a lot of crossover.
Now, I didn't
know that.
I didn't know that.
I thought I had notifications on for Alan. You're talking about Alan Thomas, right, Kaiser?
Yeah. He just did a pop-up live. It was really great, and he said how much fun he had on your guys' show. And it was really, really nice. And there's a whole lot of cohabitation within all of our channels, I think.
I know. We're really incestuous. Really, really incestuous.
Well, it's a nice way that I think we entertain the people in different manners.
Yeah, everybody plays together nicely in the sandbox, and I appreciate that. By the way, in chat, welcome to Mike, welcome to Andy, welcome to the Alaskan, and, of course, welcome to Kaiser. So glad that you guys are here right now. I'm thinking that I might, let's see if the only problem with this is it's way over here. I wonder if I can move the software over here so I can see it.
While you're messing with the software, so
hey, maybe you can tell the folks what it is generally that we talked about last Wednesday.
So here's the idea that was floated, and there's a whole backstory to it, and it involves lunch and a train and a whistle being blown at my command, by the way, from a side area.
That still was a good story.
And a tunnel and like a bunch of craziness, and then the story came about where I made, I think, Beezy, I think you urinated your pants, and Sean may have shat when I threw this out, or was it the other way around?
We went.
I don't remember.
We went to lunch.
I have a concern about the way this conversation is going. Are we talking sex, or are we talking an actual thing?
No.
No. This is an actual.
I've heard urine.
This is an actual. That's involved in your sex life. Like, that's cool. I don't judge. But no, this is like real stuff.
We went to lunch, and after lunch, we came outside. And as we're standing next to our vehicles last Tuesday, we all go our three separate directions, and then Clint had an idea and said...
I said, hey, I think, what if Trump were to run third party? And BZ kind of got this blank glazed look on his face, and
I was processing.
Sean did also, and I followed that up with no, look, seriously, the Democrats clearly hate him, and they say it's the Republicans' fault, and they don't want to do anything because he's a Republican and he's Trump. Lots of Republicans have a problem with him and have obstructed and don't really want to do anything because it's Trump. So I said, what if Trump just removed himself from the situation? I think he could still win. It's absolutely risky. But what if he removed himself from the situation? The parties are too strong anyways. And he says, listen, I'm doing this for the good of the country because I want the Democrats and Republicans to come together to solve these problems, to actually legislate and do their job. And clearly they can't do that because I'm the focus rather than their job. So I'm just going to remove myself altogether. And Democrats, you can't hate me because I'm a Republican, and Republicans, you can still hate me because I'm Trump, but I'm not part of your party. And you can go ahead and run Jeb Bush or whoever the heck you want against me. And
God.
I'll still probably win. And I will be an independent president. And we actually went on a topic about discussing different parties he could be. I think we came up with
a ton of names. We came up with a ton of different.
The Republic Clint, I think, was one, or
the Federalists.
The Democratic Republicans was one. So we pick a party, Democratic Republic. We'll say Democratic Republican right now because that kind of fits, and bring that party back. And we went on for a long time, about an hour and a half. Like I said, great discussion on it, good chat room interaction, and I've had several follow-up conversations, no fewer than 8 or 9.
It went everywhere.
Just taking this and extrapolating it out from all the different potential scenarios and what it would mean. And BZ rightly, I think, pointed out that the Northeast would completely crap itself, and there would be a massive reboot for both parties figuring out how the hell to deal with this guy. Anyways, it was just an interesting discussion. I don't think it'll ever happen, but just having that discussion and playing it out verbally and discussing it was really a good discussion. If you get a chance to hear it on replay, I highly suggest it. It's like I said, I think this has sparked more, I don't even want to say debate, but conversation, certainly, particularly if you like a topic that you can kind of play out on an intellectual level and an if-then equation out,
we went
however many
we
degrees
went
out.
So many different directions on that thing. We put our brand. We didn't expect to be doing that.
Well, I got another one for you, I think.
We thought we'd be doing that for like maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The meat and bones of that I love. The problem is, did you guys notice the first thing Pelosi did? A lot of people miss things, and I keep my ear to the ground. I think you both know this. The first thing she put in was making somebody like a Trump ever surfacing again is pretty much going to be an impossibility, and they passed it, by the way. That was with mutual bipartisan. I can't remember the name on the bill.
Which one are you talking about?
It was the first one she did when she came in, to where there will not be able to be somebody from outside the party. Because remember, it took a Manhattan Democrat to bring the Republicans to Hill and realize, whether you like it or not, the blue blood country club Republicans are done. The only way you're going to have success is to go after the working folk, because the working folk were left behind by the Democrats, who were always their champion. He brought them to Hill. The Democrats right now are the Green New Deal, all this stuff. They are in an open civil war, just like the IC has been, and now that's coming to a close. But there's a lot of stuff still not being covered. Like France is right now in open revolt, and the media is not covering it. There's a lot of stuff that's being hidden.
You got it. There's a ton of stuff.
And this was kind of one of the points we talked about. I don't mean to interrupt you, BZ, but
yeah, you do.
No, I actually didn't. I started talking sometimes, and I realized that you were talking as I opened my big mouth.
That's all right. I have a very unique story to go into.
Okay. I want to address this real quick before we hit into something different or switch gears here.
We got 5 more minutes.
So in this country, you've got the Democrats. You're right, that left the middle class behind. I believe the working man, working woman behind, and they have become this extreme socialist, Marxist party. You have the Republicans who can't seem to get their shit together. They're infighting amongst themselves. They can't support even a Republican president, and they're pissing their base off too. And I think there's a lot of people in the country that make up a majority of that middle space, for lack of a better term, where you have those Democrats. Look, I think Trump, if he ran third party, Democratic, Republican, whatever you want to call it, he would pull a lot of people, and here's why. Yeah. I think you'd have those those blue collar union folks, those manufacturing jobs, those labor jobs where Ohio, Wisconsin, right there in the Midwest, that traditionally have gone Democrat because they are union states, I think those union workers would be pulled to Trump. And I think they're going to be pulled to Trump anyways in the 2020 election cycle, particularly if the Dems run somebody hardcore, hard left, which they don't seem to help themselves.
They can't help
themselves.
They're going to do it.
Trump could leave the Republican Party or say, hey, I'm still a conservative, but I'm going to run as this, or I'm not going to label myself. I'm going to identify as non-party specific. It's like non-gender, right? Or
non-binary party.
Non-binary party. And I think he'd pull a lot of people.
The best the Democrats can do this cycle, no joke, is to go after the grope and change candidate, Biden 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll probably run with Obama as a VP, the first time you'll ever see that happen. And, of course, with the Smollett thing, what you've seen with that entire thing, and a lot of people don't realize, is after that favor was done, the three-way with Michael and with Barry and Jesse must have been phenomenal tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that joke fell on deaf ears.
No, I saw what you did.
I saw what you did. I had to process for a minute.
That's right.
It was filthy, nasty, degenerate.
Two really bizarre stories that do not have they're not occurring in the United States, and we got about 2 or 3 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. So I want to ask Clint. Clint, do you have? Are there, just out of curiosity, are there any Clint stories that you happen to have?
No, you got a couple things, and we've got a few minutes left, so let's get to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're both bizarre. One of them, maybe even both of them, Kaiser might have some input about. This one is, and I shipped this to you, and I only got about another minute to barely mention
as long as you
this,
want. It's our show.
I know, but we'll come back to it after the break. This is one that I picked up from CNN, and I shipped it to you, Clint, and basically you sent back something like, "What the fuck?"
I think I might have said that verbatim, actually.
Nice, well played.
And I did not hear this. It came out of all places, CNN. Mm-hmm. But when I saw the headline, I also, myself, I went, what the fuck?
I thought it was a joke at first.
Because I have not heard a thing about this story. Mm-mm. Nothing. And the headline is, shadowy North Korean dissident group says it raided embassy, contacted FBI. That's weird. Okay, what are they talking about? It says a shadowy North Korean dissident group claimed responsibility for last month's raid. Okay, we're already a month behind the information here. Mm-hmm. They're claiming responsibility for last month's raid on Pyongyang's embassy, North Korean embassy in the Spanish capital of Madrid on a Tuesday, but disputed allegations that what occurred in the diplomatic compound was an attack involving armed intruders. Chio Lima Civil Defense, a secretive organization whose goal is to overthrow the Kim regime in North Korea, also denied that any other foreign governments were involved in the operation or that it was related to President Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un's summit in Hanoi, which occurred days later. The quote was, "This was not an attack. We responded to an urgent situation in the Madrid embassy. We were invited into the embassy, and contrary to reports, no one was gagged or beaten." Gagged or beaten?
Right.
Who'd ever heard of anything like this? Well, I'll tell you what. I gave you the tease. We're going to go to a break. Right. We'll be right back. So, folks, you're listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny. Over there, it's Sackheads Clint. Right here at Sackheads BZ, and we are in the SHR Media Network studios. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back. Please, don't go anywhere.
I prefer to call it a headquarters.
Yeah.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same Sack time, same Sack channel.
Yep. shrmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Zippy tune right there, folks. Thanks for listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny. I'm Sackheads BZ. Right across from me is Sackheads Clint. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. Okay, those are lyrics from what group?
What group?
What group?
What group?
It was a progressive rock group.
What group?
Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
I don't listen to progressive music. I don't like their politics.
That's from the 70s. Gosh, okay. Alrighty, you guys. You are a bunch of clowns, I tell you what. Anyway, I'm Sackhead's BZ. That's Sackhead's Clint over there. I was talking about a strange CNN story that came out the 27th. Wait a minute. That's today. It came out today. A shadowy North Korean dissident group claimed responsibility for last month's raid on the North Korean embassy in the Spanish capital of Madrid, but disputed allegations that people were gagged and kidnapped.
We did it, but we did not
That's
gag
right.
or kidnap anybody.
We did a lot of other stuff.
We did a bunch of shit, but we did not do that.
Yeah, we didn't beat them. We didn't gag them. It said, out of respect, this is a quote, out of respect for the host nation of Spain, no weapons were used. All occupants in the embassy were treated with dignity and necessary caution. There were no other governments involved with or aware of our activity until after the event. It's like, okay, it sounds like people are announcing, okay, something happened. We don't know exactly what happened. We're going to tell you about it, but it's not that big a deal. After I read this, I thought, what?
It's a big deal.
The alleged incident carried out by 10 people who the judge said identified themselves as members of an association or human rights movement for the liberation of North Korea. And then, this is the other part of it, which is weird. 5 days after the attack, the FBI was contacted by the group's alleged leader, a U.S. resident. Quote, in order to provide information regarding the incident at the embassy, as well as the audio-visual material allegedly obtained during the raid. Okay, so an anti-North Korean contingent goes into the North Korean embassy in Madrid, Spain, apparently takes something, doesn't beat or gag people, and leave. So then they notify the FBI and say that, while we were there, we were very kind. We did steal some shit, but we were very kind doing it. The FBI declined to comment.
Well,
okay, so what the hell?
Bring up the Czech incident, and I'll bring up an incident that actually happened in Korea also. This whole time frame, you notice we're looking at about a month lag time, roughly.
Yes, that's exactly what they said.
On all these issues. So I will, I'm pretty good at what I do, and I do a specific set of things. And I will try to take it to the 65,000 foot level so everybody can see how it all cohabitates. But I want you to bring up the Czech incident.
Well, okay.
And notice we're now talking, there's actually 3 continents involved, because there's another thing they're not talking about, but I'll bring that in because I don't know if you're hip to that one or the one that went on in Korea.
Okay, let me back up a little bit, because I've got 2 stories that I was going to talk about. When I was in the chat room and I said Czech, that's my way of just the strange spelling of Czech. By the way, welcome to Iggy Mom in chat. When I said Czech, I didn't mean Czechoslovakia. I meant Czech like I acknowledge that. The other story that I had...
there was something that happened in Czech, but okay.
Okay,
I
wasn't...
I thought you were hip to something.
No, I wasn't aware of that, though. But the other strange story that occurred... Oh, damn, if I can even find it now. What the heck? Where did it go? I've got so much stuff up right now. Okay, there's the story about CNN. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Folks, and Kaiser, I bet you were, but folks, were you aware that apparently the Russians decided that they were going to drop into Venezuela within the past couple of days? So, folks, have you heard about that? That the Russians decided to... I know you did.
Oh.
Actually, I think you were the one that told me about it, were you not? If I'm not mistaken?
I think so.
I think so. So
I don't know. We send so much stuff to each other back and forth
we
throughout
do.
the week.
We,
I don't know.
We do. We really do. But the funny thing about this is, okay, the Russians dropped into Venezuela. So my first thought when I read that is the Russians in concert with Cuba, because they're all interlinked, as in socialists and or people that are linked in the red side, all kind of take care of each other. So my first thought was, okay, this is nothing more than the Russians stepping in and allegedly taking care of Venezuela and fearing that Maduro is going to lose his crap in Venezuela. So what happened is this. 2 Russian military planes, and they were loaded with troops, landed in Venezuela in the middle of that terrible crisis in the country, and Reuters reported on this. So the planes departed from a Russian military airport. They landed in Caracas just months after the 2 countries conducted military exercises in Venezuela. As I said, the exercises included troops from Cuba. Oh, wait. They also included troops from China and were conducted along the Venezuelan border with Colombia. Now, what's the Venezuelan border with Colombia? Why is that important? It's important because of all the crap that's going on in Venezuela. That's the border through which Venezuelans were attempting to flee the country to get into Colombia.
And that's also the border where American relief has come in. American military, I believe, has been there.
And
the Colombian military has been there, yes.
And has been stopped. Relief from the United States has been stopped on all the highways imaginable from coming into Venezuela. So it's not as though the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, Donald Trump, hasn't attempted to get some relief into Venezuela. The planes were filled with 100 Russian troops that some say were a message to the Trump administration. But the undercurrent is they're saying, well, they're only there to help.
Bullshit.
They're just there
bullshit.
to help.
Okay, first off, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yes, there is. Yes,
and
there is.
I'm a contractor, a legit contractor. You know, my bona fides are out there. When Russians, the Chinese, and I'm going to mention this, the North Koreans, say they're using contractors. I'm not going to go into the Chinese. I'm not going to go into the Korean adjuncts or detachments, and definitely not the Cuban detachments. But contractors in Russia, period, are KGB, GRU, and Spetsnaz. That's the only people that are contractors. Well, they do have some Russian mafia ties, but you have to understand the Russian mafia is also connected to both the KGB, GRU, and Spetsnaz. That's why they're so ruthless.
Let's stop here for a second. For people who don't know who the Spetsnaz are, the Spetsnaz is basically the Russian equivalent of special forces. So they are the elite
I wouldn't
Russian
say they're
troops.
Equivalent, but it's their version of.
It's their version of it. Yes, they're very well trained.
Huh?
They're very well trained.
That was me snarkily putting them down and saying that our special forces were better because I didn't want to be called that ours were equal as to them.
Well, ODA has a specific mission, just like Force Reconnaissance and Navy SEALs. Okay, everybody has their own little bailiwick. This is a fact. Regardless of any of that, Air Force, whatever. I don't even want to get into
Their PJs,
forward air traffic controllers and stuff. Everybody has their specialty, okay, and everybody's equivalently trained. The difference with the Rodina, the Russian Special Forces, Rodina is just a Russian word for Mother Russia.
Right.
The only thing different is that they actually, you think about, how do I put this? Special Forces in our lexicon, you have different ODA groups. Delta group. I mean, you have different groups, and a lot of them do come from Ranger bats, all this stuff. But Special Forces is basically a force multiplier. So what you're seeing right now is a Restabilization Act. What, if you ever look at KGB guy by the name of Yuri Breslin, you'll hear him talk about normalization. This is what they're trying to renormalize. Okay? You have to understand that there's philosophies on how to do this. This is not a new game. This game has been played for a long time. They're not communists. You have to understand, everybody forgets, North Korea practice juche, which is survivalism, okay? They have a 12-mile border with Russia.
Yes, very small.
People fail to realize that when North Korea actually got crafty back in the day, Russia initially supplied them, the Soviet Union. And then the Chinese came when we went beyond the 38th parallel. That's a fact. The Chinese were latecomers to that, but the Russians backed it in the beginning when the Japanese were there and then when we went in there. All this stuff, there's some historical context. The Cubans, who did we fight when they went into a college? It's actually an island called, oh man, I'm mind dumping it now.
Come on, Grenada, come on.
Grenada, yeah. They backed them along with East Germans. Remember who Angela Merkel started out with? Stasi and FDJ.
Yes.
I mean, all this stuff goes back. This is not a new thing. And so here's the nexus of how I'm going to bring all these together, and the Czech Republic is a prime example of this. There's a reason why the Czech Republic was such a fantastic and still is a fantastic weapons manufacturer. They do a lot of things in the background. You can see North Korea has a helical-fired magazine weapon for their AK-style weapon. You can also tell that it was not manufactured by North Korea. It's been out-processed from its inception. North Korea has been caught numerous times moving missiles to many places for cash. Trump has short-circuited this, okay? The entire muff fake that you saw with the talks collapsing in Vietnam, okay, Ho Chi Minh City, whatever you want to call it now, used to be Saigon. What you saw there is North Korea doing what North Korea does, pushing for more, and then Trump walked away, classical art of the deal. And then you saw, towards the end, a lot of getting everything back together. Now to tie it all in. North Korea, a lot of people don't know, the run-up to Vietnam, meaning there was an attempted coup on Kim Jong-un. And Kim put it down harshly. When you hear about these freedom fighters, don't mistake that that's not muff fake. That's actually North Korean loyalists to the Kim family putting something down. The same happened in the Czech Republic, i.e. the weapons thing. Think Benghazi. Okay, see how I'm starting to draw all this together? Now, Venezuela. Don't mistake that there weren't North Korean assets moved also. You have to understand the Hermit Kingdom, period, North and South, KCIA in the South, and their version of the KGB in the North. And like I said, I don't want to get into specifics on abbreviations because it's all whatever. But you're starting to see we are in fourth generational warfare. And there is a fifth generation to the warfare that a lot of people fail to realize.
Well, in the story, what I'm looking at is that they were saying that the planes that were carrying the troops, another one brought literally tons of military supplies and equipment.
Right.
And Maduro is kind of hanging on by a toenail right now. There are 50 other countries that have already recognized this guy named Juan Guaido as the legitimate leader of this.
Leader, right.
And
from the presidential thing.
And my deal would be, my guess is that China is interested in this. Hell, everybody's interested in this, but certainly China. For the oil, Venezuela is sitting atop a massive supply of oil, and China is, I'm sure, looking at that as a nice little fiscal thing to be tapped. And the Russian interest is, I'm sure they just want to be there just to poke their finger in the eye of Trump or anybody else from America as well.
That's the low-hanging fruit they want you to look at. The oil is real, but the reason why the Russians have had problems and other countries have had problems, China already has Africa. They're about to colonize that place like it's never been colonized before. Probably genocide is about what's going to happen in Africa. That's a fact. But what you're looking at right now is Russian oil tanked because we've produced so much. Venezuela, Iraq, several other countries can produce oil and make a glut and make our oil worth less and actually make it less valuable on the world market.
Well, and that happened a while ago. That happened about 2 or 3 years ago because it got to the point where the tar sands were not the Alberta, there are tar sands in Alberta, and they're also in North Dakota and South Dakota.
Right.
And for a while, it made the actual extraction of that, which is costly, we slowed down a little bit. And then the oil production throughout the rest of the world started to slow, and ours kicked back up. So you have an interesting point about that.
We also had an election in there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
Well, there was an election. If it was not
2016.
for Trump being elected, that never would have happened.
Exactly.
But the point is, they can fraudulently depress the oil market, but they have to keep Maduro in.
Well, because this guy Guaido is certainly not going to answer to Russia. He's a Venezuelan guy, and I think Maduro looks at the bigger picture. He's in it for the power.
He's in it as a globalist. Globalism is just a code word for Marxism. Anyways, my point being is, if they can push this down and push down and depress prices, okay, then Russia starts getting its feet again. And China, they're looking at different markets, different things, and the resources of Africa. And also, hey, don't doubt me on this, Afghanistan. Remember, there's a finger of Afghanistan that goes into China. Afghanistan is very rich. And China can actually bring, and they have in the past, Afghanistan to heel. They're probably the one country that can do it because of their force of people. They can just outpopulate the Afghans there.
And do we remember last year when Trump was sitting down with a bunch of European nations and embarrassed the holy crap out of Germany, saying that, hey, you're buying your fuel from Gazprom. Why don't you try the United States? We could send some CNG ships over to you, and let's cut a deal. He shamed the crap out of the Germans and the Europeans for being tied to Russia. If Europe, which really is tied terribly to Russian fuel and oil, processed and otherwise, if they cut that tie, which I don't think they will, Europe's not that smart and they're not that strong, but that could be a very serious threat to Russia.
Well, remember where USA aid started. You got to remember there's three things I always tell people besides the first three things are three legs of the stool. And what I mean by that is if you're going to do a actual coup d'etat, you have to have the money, military, and media, period. That's the three legs of the stool. Without any one of those legs, it will not go. I.e., what the soft coup with Trump, why it didn't work. They had the media, they had the money, they didn't have the military. Now we're done with that part. The other three things that I tell people consistently that you have to have, if you're going to play games geopolitically, there is only three things that you need to do. You need to grab the resources. You need to actually have a winning spirit, i.e., that means it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, you're going to complete it, okay? That's where you take the media, all the... Look, China has suppression with their, what is it called now? By the way, I've just tapped into my my penance, my second penance, which is the Smoky Mountain
I couldn't
moonshine.
tell.
Okay,
so,
nice.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to continue my penance. But the fact remains, so now you have that happening. It's called Dragonfly. So they now, and you're seeing it rolled out with Google too over here. But a lot of people don't understand this. Why do you think your show probably has more viewership than you know, except it's going to be pushed down by Google, i.e., YouTube. So this is happening.
That's already happening on a number of levels.
Is real.
Hey, let's go back to Madrid for a second, because this is curious. Why would an anti-North Korean group invade, essentially, the North Korean embassy in Madrid with false, fake firearms, not tie people up?
Well, they reported that it was, right?
Yeah, that's what they were saying, that they were fake firearms. But then acknowledge that they did that, notify the FBI, and then indicate that they stole something. So my first and biggest question is, okay, that's a lot of activity. That's a lot of planning for going into an embassy in Madrid, the Spanish capital, ! What's in there? What do you think, Kaiser, was the purpose of them going into the embassy, and what did they take? What's the point?
Diplomatic cables. And if you don't think that's important, you have to remember, where did Bernie Sanders go when the Soviet Union was still alive for his honeymoon?
Oh,
where did Ted Kennedy?
He went to
after
Russia.
Everything was said and done. Where did Ted Kennedy get caught sending letters to the old premiers of the Soviet Union saying he was undermining Reagan along with a lot of Democrats in the Senate? You have to understand this Trump derangement syndrome that we've all been experiencing for almost 3 years now, honestly. They're trying to push every narrative that they can. So what's the easiest places to find diplomatic cables? Because a diplomatic cable to one country, i.e. North Korea, goes to all the embassies. It's whether they have the eyes to look at it. But as I stated, the people that went in are the cover to conceal diplomatic cable, because they already knew this game was afoot.
Kaiser,
and if you doubt that, then look at Shifty Schiff and Eric Swallowswell.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that. We got about 1 minute left before the top of the hour, then we're going to change topics. Kaiser, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kaiser.
No worries, brother.
And
you know,
now it is the top of the hour, and now we are going to have to take a
break.
Hang
on a second, because I want to say one thing. 30 seconds.
Okay, sure.
Energy was mentioned in that segment. There's a lot of information in there.
Correct.
We don't have the time to unpack that all. Ton of stuff. But energy was in there. And I want to remind our listeners that the Soviet Union failed because of energy. What caused the collapse of the Soviet Union was Reagan's energy policy, I believe. And if you look at how the Soviet economy fell and Reagan's energy policy that was in place, we have to remember that Putin was around during that time. Putin understands.
Yeah, he was a KGB colonel out of East German.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Putin,
I was there.
Putin understands what caused the fall of the Soviet Union. And Putin is all about Russia. I think he's trying to get the band back together on a certain level, and we've talked about that before here on this show. And I think that is one of the reasons why Putin is so strong on energy and countries that can produce energy, and on trying to undermine American energy policy. And you talked about manipulating oil policies and all that. And so when we see Russia get involved in all these places, I think that's a huge driving force. And that's all I wanted to chime in on that.
Yeah, and they'll have their foot soldiers also come in on it. Like I said, another thing everybody needs to look at real quick, and then you guys bounce me off, and I'll do my last penance, and I'll just type in the comments. But
you'll do penance by yourself, mister.
But the fact doesn't change. USAID is the friendly face to the CIA. The CIA is our covert branch besides DIA, okay? I'm not getting into all the specifics of this stuff, but there's some serious business happening. And you have to remember there's a company, and this is the corporate face of the CIA, SAIC, Scientific Applications Investors Corporation. I have worked for them, and I've also worked for USAID. So you have aspects of our clandestine services that were actually warned about all the way back to who was it, Eisenhower on his farewell speech. See, kind of think about things. Yeah, the shortage of Andy Wood just typed it in. Shortage of oil is a lie. It's not a lie. It's being done purposefully. Clint nailed it too. This comment is correct from both of you. And that's what I tried to point out. It is about energy. And Clint was correct on some aspects, that energy was why they lost it. But they also lost it because they could not spend what we could spend on Star Wars and a whole lot of projects that were all DARPA funded. Same with the internet. Remember, the internet started with DARPANet, and I was there when the ground floor of that opened. So information is power.
It's funny you should mention that, because I bought a book in the 80s, late 80s, and it mentions that you mentioned it, and that made me think of it. It's called, you can't even get it anymore, it's called The Threat by David Smith or David Poyer, one of the two. I can't remember which. But essentially what he said is the USSR dissembled because of the fact that we outspent it on every level. Yeah. We outspent the Soviets, and that blasted them into oblivion. They could not keep up measure for measure with defense spending against the United States. And that's essentially what blew up the USSR.
Exactly. And Dave typed in that the oil will eventually run out. I don't believe that. It's abiotic. I fall under what most people I know that are intelligent fall under. It's not a fossil fuel. It's abiotic oil. It just naturally occurs, and I've seen it in the ocean where cracks, you'll see oil bubble out of them because of the pressure. It's volcanic activity, our core, everything. It creates the oil, and it's not the proven reserves are one thing, but there's also the list of reserves that we know we have, and that's globally. That's why it's a global commodity. That's why you can artificially depress and raise prices. OPEC knows this. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack. Cliff, you're right. Clint, you're right. I'm just going to have to let you guys finish it out, but I think I've shared as much as I can to try to elucidate this situation. It seems chaotic, but remember, the way things work is order comes from chaos. And you have to have the chaos first. And we're going to see it in our nation. Whether you like it or not, it comes. Smollett's just a symptom. There's more than that, though. I may joke around about Bathhouse Barry and Michael. We had our first training first lady. And Smollett, but there's probably some truth to that.
Well, the funny thing is, when we come back, we are going to talk about Smollett because there's more to that case than meets the eye as well, as everybody suspects. Hey, thanks, Kaiser. Thanks for being in here. Appreciate it.
No problem, gentlemen. God bless you. Well, be safe.
You too, brother.
Thank you, sir. We are a little late. We are going to go to a break just in case anybody here needs to use the electric winkle chamber like some of us do. So we're going to take a break. You're listening to The Shot Show, the Sackheads Against Tyranny. That's Sackheads Clint. I'm Sackheads BZ. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yeah. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Shat Show. It's the Sackheads Against Tyranny. Thanks for being here tonight. I want to say a really good chat room. Actually, the chat room is a hell of a lot more than what I get. Clint, thanks. And I had a great SHR special report last night, too, about all the craziness that's going on that we want to talk about here in the not-too-terribly distant future. Welcome. Thanks to Iggy Mom for being in chat. Thanks, Mike, the Alaskan, Dave Milner, Andy Wood, one viewer, and Kaiser. Thanks to everybody for being in chat. Make sure that you go to chat tomorrow because I'm going to have Professor Michael Jones on, and we're going to talk about, what are the things that the Democrats want to do that aren't constitutional? Oh, that's right, most of it. Yeah, most of it. So, you wanted to talk about something when we got back from the break, did you?
I wanted to touch on Mueller and his probe submitting the report to Attorney General Barr. And you know, I've heard, first of all, no collusion. Shocking. No collusion.
Yeah, we're floored.
Yeah, completely shocked by that. But the Democrats don't know what the hell to do with themselves now. I think because they know that if they continue on with hearings and so forth in the House, which I think they're going to do because they can't help themselves, they realize how absolutely ridiculous they're going to look. But something interesting. I've been hearing some talk about people wanting another special counsel appointed to investigate kind of how all this got started. What happened? What's the backstory? Where did this push come from? And I think that's an interesting.
Do we want a special counsel, or do we want basically the Judiciary Committee or another committee to do the investigation?
No, I don't want any committee to do an investigation. You know who I want to do the investigation? I want the fucking Justice Department to do the investigation.
That's where it should have been in the first place, and that's why we shouldn't.
Why do we need another special counsel?
We don't.
But, and just think this through.
And we didn't need that one.
Think this through. If you're going to appoint a special counsel, BZ, to investigate the other side of this incident, BZ, why not appoint Mueller?
Okay. Do you trust him?
He would be answering to Attorney General Barr.
Okay, stop right there. Jeff Sessions or William Barr, what do you think?
What do you mean, what do I think?
What do you think? Was Jeff Sessions not the worst appointment in retrospect? Actually, after the first week, we discovered he was about the worst possible appointment to make. You know, we've said this. Our lives kind of depend on judging people, and I've gotten tons of crap for saying this. Jeff Sessions, when speaking, sounds to me like a limp-wristed noodle who has very little, if any, oomph to him at all. He's got no presence, no stage presence. If he were to tell me to do X, Y, or Z, I'd essentially tell him to fuck off someplace else. Now, why would you install somebody that has no presence, no persona, into a job?
It was political. It was a political favor.
Into a job that important.
Because it was a political favor.
And Trump was correct from the very beginning. Jeff Sessions, you should have been honest, like we were talking about McCain, and tell him up front, I don't think that I can be here. I have to recuse myself.
Why was the appointment made, though? It's because Jeff Sessions was the first senator,
one of the first
ones to come out and support Trump. Yeah, and so that's what that was. And I don't think President Trump knew that he was that weak. But now going back to Mueller.
Okay.
And why not have Mueller look at the other side of this? Mueller came out, and I'm not a fan. I'm going to say that before you guys all start beating me up in the chat room. I'm not a fan of Mueller. That being said, he did come out with a report that said there's no collusion. There's nothing here.
Okay.
So hang on. So
there's a big but in there.
There is a but in there, and I get it. But that's ultimately the conclusion that was drawn in his report. And yes, there is a but, and he didn't say that. Now the Democrats are playing, well, it's what he didn't say. Whatever. He didn't say that there's no obstruction of justice.
That's it.
Right?
Yes, that was the point.
Right. Okay. But he can't prove an obstruction case. And the reason he doesn't know if it's obstruction is because he wasn't in Donald Trump's head. And so if you can't prove it, how can you prove that it's not it? And the burden of proof is on them. So unless he got a statement from Donald Trump saying X, Y, or Z, then you can prove maybe that it wasn't one thing or the other. He didn't have that in this case. There's no hard evidence of it, but obstruction in this case, I think, would have to really go to president's mindset, and you can't prove or disprove that. So, from a standpoint of investigating a particular case, if you can't prove or disprove something because it's motive driven or specific intent driven or something like that, you just kind of have to say, here's the facts, and we're unable to substantiate it. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I can't prove that it did happen. But Mueller did not. Maybe he had his staff and so forth, and yes, I think he was. He certainly had an agenda, I believe, but he didn't come out and try and hang. At least from what I know so far, he didn't try and spin this report to make the charges fit. He didn't recommend a prosecution by half-assing or haphazard stuff. I disagree with his methods. I disagreed with some of the things he did. Don't get me wrong. But having Mueller to now investigate the other side of this, first of all, he'd be, and I love the look on your face. I love it when I do this to you, BZ, because you're like you don't know whether to shit or wind your watch right now.
Okay,
so you know,
I have a response, and
okay, let me finish this.
I want people to look. I'm gonna put, here's my visual. This is a visual as Clint is talking. I'm putting my face on the screen, and as Clint is talking, I'm doing this.
And people should realize by now that sometimes I just say shit for a reaction. But Mueller, if think about it, let's play this out. If he's appointed as special counsel again,
do I not call you the
the contrarian?
Do I not do that?
He gets to investigate not only this side, but now he gets to investigate the other side. And he has an attorney general that he has to answer to who didn't recuse himself, who's not going to cower, who isn't a fucking weasel. It's not Rod Rosenstein. He's going to have a team in place who will be very watched and monitored, I believe, by the people that are in power now, the investigators who would be looking into this, because I think you have to get rid of your whole team and bring a new team in, and I think whoever he brings in would be highly, highly, highly scrutinized by Attorney General Barr. And I think that Mueller, I think his ability to do harm in that investigation would be snipped. And I think it would give the investigation that much more credibility from the other side, because shit, how could they argue his findings if he did find something, or if his team, who's really doing the investigation, if his team found something, how could the Democrats argue that, hey, this is the guy that you guys picked, that was picked to investigate Trump, that you guys were praising. Look, here's all your, and now you don't like what he said on Trump, and you don't like what he found here?
They've already shot the crap. They've already moved that goalpost.
They have.
That ship has sailed.
But the American people are not going to fucking buy it.
Okay, so let me see if I get this right. You're predicting, or
I didn't say I'm predicting.
Okay, you're desirous. You're desirous of another special counsel.
No, I'm saying
because the special counsel occurred in the first place, so that special counsel gets another special counsel to combat the first special counsel because it was appointed. Therefore, we need a second special counsel to do the job that the DOJ should have been sufficiently competent to do originally.
And it should be the same dude.
And it should. Yes, that's exactly what you're saying.
Part.
Yeah, and it should be the same damn saggy, droopy dog looking kind of guy. Here's something that's really interesting. Okay, Sunday. Okay, this right here. These are the 4 pages that were released by William Barr. This is the summary of the Mueller report, and I read part of it last night because I went all over the Mueller report last night.
So you don't like you don't like that, and I wasn't advocating for it. I'm saying, wouldn't it be interesting if, and I think it would be funny if.
It could be amusing, but it would be a big-ass waste of time. My point was, that came out, that got released on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, the media was able to attack it, and Monday, everything turned to crap on the left. I love this story. Because for the past year and a half, what would you guess? Year and a half, maybe 2 years, but at least a year and a half, the Democrats and the American, what I term the American media maggots, have all been lined up saying, it's terrible. It's nothing but Trump. Oh, wait. Now, Monday, CNN and MSNBC ratings, because of what occurred on Sunday, MSNBC and CNN ratings literally tank from 40 to 50% in one night. Because, because
of the Mueller investigation.
Exactly, because
they were in the freaking tank for
it didn't go the way they wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're nothing but a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, and I think the American people are starting to see that.
God, like I said,
because they watch this crap all day and they're like, oh, there's collusion, oh, there's this. They can't help but to find it, and then there's nothing, and what do they do?
You can't write we say it all the time. You can't write this stuff, and you really can't.
And what are they talking about now? I think Tucker Carlson pointed this out tonight on Fox. What are they talking about now? They're talking about health care.
Oh, yeah, because they're all out of the rest of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't talk about that. God. I'm looking for this compilation that I had on YouTube. Dang, I can't find it. Anyway, I just find that amusing.
So what do you think would happen? First of all, if there's going to be a special counsel appointed, because DOJ won't investigate it even though they should. If there's a special counsel appointed, which I think it should be investigated by somebody, probably DOJ, but special counsel, whatever, I'll take it. I think it needs to be looked into because I think it's that important. We had an attempted takedown of a president of the United States based on complete and utter horseshit.
Last night I said it was a coup. It was a soft coup.
Yes, it was.
Period.
So who do you think, and Trump himself called it treason. I do not disagree with that. So who do you think should be the special counsel and extrapolate it out? Why not Mueller?
He just leaves. I mean, if you really want to get to this, number one, you're going to have to ask yourself, who did he pack with attorneys? They were all Democrats.
They were. But look who that was under. That was under Rod Rosenstein's oversight.
Yeah,
that was not under Barr's oversight.
I'm done with Rosenstein. I don't trust Mueller.
I don't either.
this is it's a ploy. I'm not going with it. I wouldn't go with Mueller at all. He's had his day. He was an FBI director. He's got enough money. He spent $26 million for this bullshit. I'm done with Mueller, like I'm done with a Bush, like I'm done with a Romney.
Okay, so who would be your choice for special counsel? And you know the argument is going to be that it's your guy, and they're going to dismiss the report. Whereas Mueller, they can't have that argument. So who would your guy be?
Wrong. They had that argument that started Monday. As soon as it came out,
but nobody's buying it.
They blew. Oh yes,
but nobody's buying it. Of course they're not.
The Democrats are all buying into it. They don't believe a thing that Mueller said.
Yes.
Folks, are you enjoying this? Repartee.
The crazy left is buying it, but Middle America's not buying that crap anymore.
You know,
they're hardcore Dems. Yes, of course they're going to buy any bullshit they're spoon-fed. But most of America, and you said it yourself, MSNBC and CNN's ratings tanked overnight, and it's because people aren't buying that bullshit. So what I'm talking about is from a Middle America stance, from a stance of how you sell this to Middle America, the people who are not in the tank for either side. And I think that's why you see the ratings dip the way you did for CNN and MSNBC.
Yes, I would completely agree with that.
If Mueller does do the investigation on the other side, how the Democrats can absolutely not make that argument to the voters, the people that they need to turn to their side in order to win in 2020. They can't do it.
So you don't think that anybody other than Mueller would be acceptable to the general American public?
That's not true. I think that there would be more for those people that don't like Trump, but maybe they'd vote for him because the Democrats are just so fucking crazy and they've realized how much they've been lied to. I think if it's somebody who tends to be more conservative, somebody that Barr picked, I think that it would be an easier sell to sway them back into that far left side, or at least to vote with them, than if it was somebody that everybody was championing not too long ago, to let them look at the other side. That's my point.
Okay, so you don't think that somebody like a Jim Jordan could do a good job?
I think he would do a fantastic job.
Or going from outside.
Oh my gosh! Could you imagine
and getting say a Trey Gowdy?
Oh my God!
He's retired. He's retired. He could come back.
Think about this. You have CNN and MSNBC and people in Middle America who are union employees. Maybe they voted Democrat historically. They don't believe the Republican Party, but they vote for Trump, maybe grudgingly, or they didn't vote for Trump, but they're so disenfranchised by what the Democrats are doing and how far left they've gone. If you have a Trey Gowdy or a Jim Jordan do that investigation and they find anything, those are the two people who grilled every Democrat coming in front of Congress, who are clearly, I don't want to say in the tank, but are Republicans. Don't get me wrong. I think they're men of honor. I think that they would do a fantastic job. I personally would love to see them do it because they would nail their asses to the fucking wall because they're freaking tigers. I would love that. However, I don't believe that would play to the CNN and MSNBC viewers who just realized, maybe for the first time, how full of shit those people are and how out of touch the left is.
We've got about a minute.
That's my point.
Okay. We've got about a minute before the break at the bottom of the hour. And I think that's enough time for me to play this, because I bet you haven't heard this yourself. So
Trump, Putin, Russian collusion.
Trump, Russian sort of collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Trump, Russian metal collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, potentially collusion.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, collusion. Trump, Russian collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Russia hacked our election. Here comes a big change. Because all of a sudden, Trump, Russian, possible collusion, Russian collusion.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Trump, Russians, collusion.
Collusion with the Russians. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Prove collusion. Prove collusion.
Prove collusion.
Was there collusion?
Absolutely.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, potential collusion. Trump, Russia, potential collusion.
And the Kremlin and be in collusion with Putin. And the Kremlin and be in collusion and Putin. And the Kremlin and be in collusion with Putin. And the Kremlin and be in collusion. This president in collusion with Putin. And the Kremlin and be in collusion. This president in collusion.
I got a headache already.
That's all this was. You may as well play this every day from now until forever, because do you think that possibly, before we go to the break, do you think it's possible for the Democrats to stop this?
No.
To get off that train?
Oh, I think as soon as they realize that the damage that they've done, where people realize how full of crap they are, I think they're going to force themselves to get off the train. But they can't help themselves. They can't help themselves. They'll try, but they won't be able to let go of the handrail, and so it'll just drag them.
Yeah, it'll be like the escalator. You know, when you get on the escalator to go up to the second floor, and as the stairs disappear into that little grating right there. Are they going to get sucked into that bad boy?
They can't help themselves.
It kind of makes you wonder. Folks, this is the last half hour. We're going to be back right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the final 25 minutes of the Sackheads Against Tyranny show. It is a true shot show. I think we'll have enough time to talk about Jesse Smollett. Before we do that, Sackheads Clint brought to my attention an interview that occurred earlier tonight, apparently on the Sean Hannity show, with regard to President Trump. Evidently, President Trump called in to Sean Hannity and made a couple of suggestions or said that he might be inclined to do something. So I found the article, and I actually have the audio of it. But what was it that you discovered, dear Sackheads Clint, that President Trump had apparently said to Sean Hannity?
President Trump said that he wants to release the full and unredacted FISA warrants related to the documents used by the FBI in the investigation of his campaign.
Hell yes. Hell yes. And I don't know if you're thinking about it in the same way that I am, but there were choices to be made. The FBI had choices to make.
Yes.
They could have treated, and like I brought up last night, they could have treated President Trump like they treated the Dianne Feinstein, the deference that they gave her last year when it was finally revealed that they had a guy named Lou who was inserted into, and the Feinstein at the time was still chair of the Senate Intel Committee, and she had a Chinese operative as her driver. Then he was an office manager. The FBI essentially came up and said, hey, Senator, we hear that you've got a Chinese operative and we'd like to get to the meat of the matter. Why couldn't they have done the exact same thing to Donald Trump or his campaign and come up to him or whoever was running the campaign at the time and say, we think you may have been co-opted in some fashion by a Russian operative. We want you to work with us. Do you think anybody in the Trump campaign would have said something even remotely close to, no, we're not going to work with you? Instead, that Barack Obama, number 44, went out of his way to use the might and the muscle of essentially every counterintelligence agency that he had at his fingertips to go after Trump because he was Trump.
Yes.
The other point is this that I would care to say. The reason I think that's an excellent idea, although, as I want to say, people basically would be shitting car parts if they did it, is the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. If, for example, if we discovered, if the revelation of that FISA affidavit that had to be, by the way, re-upped every 3 months, so they had to go back to the court and say that we need to continue this, so it wasn't just a one-time appearance. That's not how a FISA court warrant works, I happen to know. You have to go back, and the court reviews your documents. And theoretically, they should be asking, give me something like there's when you serve a warrant, there has to be a warrant service indicated that there's, okay, we served the warrant at this time and this date, and you have to return it. And then especially with a warrant for evidence or something like that, you have to return it to the court and you have to make some kind of an indication as to what it is that you got out of it, et cetera, et cetera. The same as the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, which says that if what you submitted to the FISA court was specious bullshit based on a Yahoo News story, a dirty dossier, and a bunch of crap that you may not have completely believed in from the very beginning, and yet you proffered this to a FISA judge as this is gospel, and the FISA judge signs off on it, two things. Right about now, don't you think whoever that FISA judge is really pissed at the FBI? I would expect so.
I would expect so.
I would expect so. And the second thing is, if Trump goes and releases the documents that are involved in this, and you'd have to redact something that, I'm guessing that there would be probably something in there that they would try to redact. But the reason they wouldn't want to release that is everything from that point on, from the day of the application of that warrant, any evidence, any indicia, any kind of return, any indictment, any gesundheit,
Thank you.
any conviction that you acquired as the result of that initial application would all have to be vacated, and that's why I think you're going to see a hell of a fight for doing that. Could Trump do that? Yes. But a fight? Oh, my God. Because it would reveal, finally, the incredible amount of bias, political bias, and corruption that was endemic in the FBI and the 44th presidency. You can't have that. You can't make Barack Hussein Obama look bad. No one can do that.
Well, it would only make him look bad if it went all the way up to the top and that was proved. Releasing the FISA documents, I don't know that would necessarily make President Obama look bad.
It would be a massive stain on his presidency.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it would be massive if it was tied directly to him. If there was an email from President Obama saying you shall do this, and then
do we not know that in that server, and I'm sure that's part and parcel of the emails that were removed. I think that the Hillary Clinton email server system was important because we know that Obama sent emails to her under a nom de guerre, a nom de plume. We know that already.
Well, and did you see within the last week, new emails were revealed from Hillary Clinton where she discusses classified information. And this after she said, oh, no, there's no more. And everybody said, oh, no, yeah, there's no more. We fucking found more. So
this is why this is, again,
those emails may exist.
With all the stuff that we know at this point.
But I'd like to see them.
It's the tip of the iceberg. There is still, I believe, so much more to be revealed here.
Oh, absolutely. Of course there is.
Let me ask you this, Sackheads Clint. In 10 years, maybe 5 years, right around in there, take your pick. Do you think that the American psyche is going to come to the realization that President 44 was one of the worst presidents ever in the United States?
No, not in the next 5 or 10 years. I think that...
First, will they come to that conclusion? And if so, will it just be a longer span of time?
I think that it will be a long span of time. I think it will be...
Just because of his paint job?
Yes.
Because, I mean, let's get down to it. It's about his paint job.
Look, I think that in a lot of people's minds, and in some respect, they're correct, the nation took a huge leap forward, if that's what you want to call it, but it was a landmark thing that the United States of America, where slavery once was in fact legal, and the predominant number of the predominant slaves were predominantly black, to then fast forward to where a African American became president of the United States. That in and of itself is historic. Whatever you think of the man, that in and of itself is historic. That in and of itself, I think, to a lot of people, showed that the United States has really kind of moved past its history of slave. It's part of our history. It is what it is. I'm not judging America or the founders or anything for slavery. The British freaking is who brought it here. The Americans ended it. So don't misinterpret what I'm saying, listeners, please. But I think just the fact that we had a black president, whether he was half black, whatever, he was a black president, I think was in fact historic for the United States. Just like if and when we ever get our first female president of the United States, that will be a historic moment. If for no other purpose than the gender, if for no other purpose than the race. It is given the history, given some of the things that our country has had in the past. That being said, I think that in time, as we move past, which really we should be here now already, but in time, as time goes on, and we get maybe another minority president, or we kind of get past this racial divide that we really have right now since the Obama administration, I might add, which has gotten worse. But once we kind of get back past this and start moving past this more, I think that people will be able to take an objective look at his presidency, much like they've done with George W. Bush, and really kind of break down the nuts and bolts. Now,
so you're saying it's just going to take time,
well, it depends,
for America to get over the paint job,
yes,
before we can actually begin to examine the quality of the paint job.
Correct. And I think even then they'll say, hey, President Barack Obama was the first black president of the United States. That's historic. Okay. However, let's look at his policies. There were things in his policies that X, Y, or Z, and I think that's what you'll see. I don't think you'll ever see anybody saying, oh, he was the worst president in the history of the United States.
Okay.
And because he was part of something historic, whether you like it or not. He was.
That's true.
So
that's true.
The other side of that is this. If the progressives gain control of our country, if they're able to undermine our Constitution completely, if they're able to change the voting age to 16, if they're able to pack the Supreme Court, if they're able to get rid of the Electoral College, and the progressives maintain power, I think that you will see history books being rewritten, much like we know that's already happening. But I think long term, you will see a re-education and a retelling of history from a completely one-sided and controlled point of view. In which case, I don't think it will ever be told what's a lot of the negative things and perhaps shady things that occurred in that administration, because in the eyes of those who are telling it and those who are in power, they weren't shady, and they were a way to justify the ends justified the means. And he was a great president, and he was a great leader who accomplished X, Y, or Z. So I know that's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but it really depends who's in power in the long run, what happens, happens to our country. And look, if Trump wins another re-election and the Democratic Party comes to its senses and gets back to the middle, I think a critical look at his presidency will reveal him out for what his presidency truly was. But if that doesn't happen, I don't think anybody will take a hard look at it.
Okay, so you're basically saying it's going to take a while.
Correct.
Yes. The paint job will keep its luster a little bit longer than people initially expect.
Yeah, and I don't know how lustrous the paint job is right now. Like, I think people...
It's not very.
It's not very.
Didn't
Even on
Obama
the left,
say that he was going to stay in D.C.? That's why he got that brick house. That's why Valerie Jarrett is still in Scotland. Isn't that fucking creepy? That his chief of staff, Valerie Jarrett, is living with the Obamas. Because the first thing when I heard about that is, can you imagine the weird-ass three-way that would be?
Yeah.
Who gets to be on top? I think it would be
Michelle.
I think it's going to be like a food fight between her and Jarrett.
Let me ask you a question. So Kaiser actually brought something interesting up about Obama as the vice presidential nominee for the Democrats.
Okay.
Pretty interesting. I don't think it'll happen, but interesting concept. Let's extrapolate this out.
Okay.
If he were, and Biden was their nominee, or whoever, if Barack
you're
Obama,
thinking about a reversal. Instead of an Obama-Biden ticket, it's
it'd
a
be a Biden-Obama
ticket.
Yeah, and Kaiser brought that up. That's not mine. I can't take credit for that. But let's insert Democrat / Obama as the VP. If he's already served 2 terms, if something happens to the president, or if the president steps down, he would.
Then what do you do in the Constitution? What do you do?
Well, the president, does it say he serves for 2 terms, or is he elected for 2 terms? If he serves for 2 terms, then he can't take power, and it would go to the Speaker of the House. Correct?
If we're interpreting the Constitution that way, that's how I would tend
serve
to read
or
that.
Elected.
Yes,
because he could say, I wasn't elected, I was now.
So it should be me.
Yes, I think he'd say it should be me either way.
Anyway, yes, that's true. You know, you mentioned race relations. We got about 8 minutes to do this. Jussie Smollett came out, or the Cook County State Prosecutor came out yesterday. This is all since yesterday. Yesterday was nothing but one big ass amount of turmoil, and said basically in the Jussie Smollett case. No, that was March 26th. No, that was yesterday. That's right. Oh my God, this stuff passes so quickly. Basically, the charges were dropped by the Cook County DA. He forfeited his $10,000 bond, although today, as opposed to yesterday, I can't think of her name. Who's the DA on that? Kim? Fox? Kim? Something like that.
Fox. F-O-X-X.
She said that he acquiesced to forfeiting his bond. Today, Jussie Smollett is saying, no, I didn't do that. That was forced. His court records have been sealed. His arrest has been entirely expunged.
Only after the PD released everything they had.
Oh, and wasn't that glorious? And he still insists he's not guilty. He still insists that he paid
Well, technically, he's not guilty.
Well, that's true, but he still says that he paid the 2 Jamaicans, the 2 bodybuilders, for fitness tips. This is kind of interesting. Here's a guy who is let's see if I get this right. He's the first assistant Cook County State's attorney. His name is Joseph Magats, or Magats. Magats, M-A-G-A-T-S. And this is in response to him being asked, what do you think about the charges being dropped on Jussie Smollett? Okay, so this is a peer speaking in the Cook County State's Attorney's office.
Does dropping the charges vindicate him?
No.
Does it exonerate him?
No.
Do you believe that he is innocent?
I do not believe he's innocent.
So you believe he's guilty?
Yes.
So why drop the charges?
Based on all the facts and circumstances, based on his lack of criminal background. I mean, we defer or do alternative prosecutions.
Ooh, his
in the
voice
last
is
2 years.
shaky.
We've done it on 5,700 other felony cases.
Okay,
Ooh, his voice is shaky.
So listening to that, and you picked up on it immediately, and that's why I wanted to play this. Because I know that you have a spidey sense, like I have a spidey sense when you hear people. And so I find that very interesting that after I heard that, and I kind of wish, folks, you could see this, but that's the same thing I was thinking when I heard him. He was giving a proper response in terms of, yes, I believe so-and-so, I believe he's guilty. But then when he adds that additional material, then you begin to pick up your spidey sense, begins to tingle a little bit.
The bullshit meter.
So here's Rahm Emanuel, who actually takes umbrage and for once is supporting the Chicago PD. This is Rahm Emanuel's response yesterday to the charges being dropped on our good
We
friend.
had one of the largest ceremonies for the police department in the history of the city. 297 men and women. Most diverse class representing all parts of this city. People from all walks of life and backgrounds and faith who said they want to serve the city and serve the values of the city and help serve others in time of need. And I draw you in that contrast, people of all walks of life, as I said, graduates of our public schools, kids who grew up with parents who were police officers, veterans of the armed forces who have a life of service. They were there to not only uphold the law, but the values that imbue and inform those laws. And now you have an individual who took those laws, turned them inside out, upside down, for only one thing: himself. And that, in my view, is an insult and an offense.
Aren't you shocked to hear Rahm Emanuel say something
I have
like that?
I have a visual. I have a visual of President Trump shaking hands at a podium with Mayor Rahm Emanuel and vowing the Justice Department to assist the city of Chicago in his office and the Chicago Police Department in putting a federal case together.
Do you think this is going to go federal?
Against, yes,
I do.
I do. I don't know how. I don't know how it doesn't. But just the photo op of President Trump shaking hands with Rahm Emanuel.
Number one. Don't you think Trump would think that was incredibly delicious?
Yes.
And number two,
yes.
And number two, wouldn't you look at Rahm Emanuel, who would be forced to do it?
Yes.
The flecks of enamel would be coming off of his fucking teeth because he'd have to actually stand next to the guy.
Yes.
But it would be delicious.
Yes.
This just in. I found this from the internet. Left-wing billionaire mega donor George Soros, and this might answer a few questions with regard to Jussie Smollett. George Soros donated $408,000 to a super PAC that supported Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, the prosecutor in the Smollett case, in her election campaign in 2016. In a shock announcement, Foxx managed to drop all 16 felony charges against the actor. Soros has spent heavily on backing progressive candidates for local prosecutorial offices all across the nation, following the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2014. Foxx ran on a platform of criminal justice reform, telling local ABC News affiliates that she wanted to focus on restoring faith in our criminal justice system, bridging the divide between the community and law enforcement. She also found, oddly enough, two other additional sources of cash in the form of twin $300,000 donations to a super PAC supporting her called Illinois Safety and Justice. The sole donors...
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, doesn't it sound lovely?
Nice.
The sole donors to the PAC are neoliberal super donor and conservative boogeyman George Soros, once again, and a dark money group called the Civic Participation Action Fund. Doesn't that sound great?
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Who wouldn't want to participate
in civic
civics?
duties? Yeah, I do.
So, state campaign finance records showed Soros personally contributed a total of $333,000 to Fox's super PAC before the March 15th, 2016 primary was over, and an additional $75,000 after she won.
That's nice.
Let me ask you a very simple question, Sackheads Clint. Do you possibly think that do you think this is pure specious coincidence that following the day that the official Mueller report was revealed and everyone responded to it on Monday, the very next day she decides to drop the charges? Do you not think like me? I'm thinking this is a tit for tat.
Of course it is. Well, not only that, but you had
you're gonna let Mueller get away. You're gonna let all these people get away, and Mueller is a piece of crap.
You forget another piece of this though. There was a phone call or an email or a communication between.
You're right. Yes.
Between Michelle Obama's chief of staff.
Yep.
And the prosecutor office.
You are right. You are right. So she's feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
Question, kind of
10 o'clock.
Kind of a final question.
10 o'clock.
I know.
Yeah.
A final question would be this. Do you think that she thought, Kim Foxx thought that this was just going to occur, she was going to get away with it, there'd be a little bit of pushback, but it would not receive a fraction of the attention that it's receiving right now?
I do think that that's what she believed. I believe she thought there'd be a little bit of pushback, but nothing like this. And I believe Mueller needs to be appointed as a special counsel to investigate this.
You're doing that. You're doing that just to get a rise out of me.
And it works every time.
It does work. You evil contrarian, you. All right, that's it for the show. It has been, in fact, a chat show all the way along. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have Professor Michael Jones on. We're going to talk about the Electoral College. We're going to talk about 16-year-olds voting. We're going to talk about SCOTUS being increased from 9 to 15. Can we eliminate the Electoral College? Can all 11 states that have decided they're going to go with the popular vote, that's how the electors are going to go? Tune in tomorrow night, Professor Michael Jones, and we'll find out. Folks, God bless, take care, be safe.
Bye-bye.
Come back next week. Next week, Wednesday.